believe he was higher than Scott Johnson in TSA's hierarchy?
No, at Dulles Airport, FSD Johnson is the highest for TSA.
Has your Secret Service training regarding arrests changed your viewpoint regarding citizens' arrests?
Again, I've not received training on citizens' arrest.
But you still affirm that no citizens' arrest was claimed against you on 10 March 2016?
What are you reading? I don't see what you're reading.
I'm asking you a question, sir.
Can you restate what I'm alleged to have said?
I'm just asking you, I'm asking to confirm that your belief, as represented in several statements previously, that you believe you were not placed under citizen's arrest on 10 March 2016.
I do not recall being placed under any arrest.
But you are aware now that Mr. Wetzel's statement claims that I placed you under citizen's arrest on 10 March 2016. Is that correct?
I would disagree.
Why do you disagree what do you disagree there?
His statement would state otherwise, sir.
What do you think it states?
His statement says, Passenger Lenore then stated that if they would not place him under arrest, then he would be placed in TSO Polson under citizen's arrest for felony sexual assault.
Do you believe that arrest did not occur subsequently?
I would agree.
So that you believe that statement just talks about a future possibility, but not the actual placing of arrest?
I believe that on March 10th, I was not placed under any sort of arrest.
Do you believe that the words, I place you under arrest, are required to place someone under arrest?
No.
Where did you learn that?
Someone is under arrest under certain circumstances and they do not require a set phrase.
Where did you learn that?
In my current training with the Secret Service.
Did you learn that in any of your training with TSA?
No.
Or anywhere else?
No.
So your opinion regarding arrests has changed from working with Secret Service as when you were working with TSA based upon your Secret Service training, correct?
I've been educated on forms of arrest and how to place people under arrest, if that answers your question.
Based upon your current training, do you now believe that you were placed under citizen's arrest on 10 March 2016?
I do not.
And why do you believe that you were not placed under citizen's arrest?
To be under arrest, you have to confine someone. Someone cannot have freedom of movement is the essential thing. So freedom of movement, I was still able to move freely as my manager, I recall, moved me away from the incident. And so without a restraint within the area, I was free to move on my own.
Do you believe that you were free to leave the incident at that time?
I did leave the incident at that time.
Define leave. How far did you go?
I left your point of view, your area of control. I recall I went around the corner and down the hall. I don't recall the distance that would be.
So I couldn't see you.
That would be correct.
Do you believe you were likely still in the video that you and your counsel provided of the incident?
I have not seen the video, sir.
Do you believe that you were free to depart your work duty and to remain in the general vicinity? You were free to go in that manner?
On that day in question, I felt that I could not leave until I'd signed my papers to leave on overtime basis, as I had exceeded my shift.
But otherwise, you did not feel confined at all or an obligation to return to speak with the MWAP police officers or anyone else to close out the incident?
They did not approach me. They specifically walked past me, as I recall.
Did you come back to be in the vicinity with me and other TSA agents after you had gone around the corner and then come back into my field of view?
I don't recall going back around the corner towards the pat-down area.
Did you, after you went around the corner, did you leave at that point and not come back to the pat-down area?
I did not.
Captain Lindley, while you're doing that, I do just want to point out and the fact that Exhibit 2 has at least 1, 2, 3, 4 markings in red, and you're aware of that, is that right?
Yes, I marked those to be able to make it easier for topics of the conversation, and the items underlined in red on where items were my full name, including my middle name, and then the segments of sentences that Mr. Polson was reading.
I just want the record to be clear.
Sure, no problem. You didn't mark them, I marked them. Thank you. Yeah, you that's your get out of jail card on that one. It's not a problem. And now we have more markings. I'd like to enter into evidence the TSA submission date stamp TSA-000025. And this is a statement from Michael G. Polson. Here is the evidentiary copy. It does have markings where one sentence is marked under blue, one is marked under red, there's brown brackets, and a few sentences marked under green. So it's very colorful. And a counsel, here is a copy.
Thank you.
Mr. Polson, can you read your statement in for the record, please?
The complete statement, sir?
Yes, sir.
I, Michael G. Polson, am a Transportation Security Officer, TSO, at Dulles International Airport, IAD, on 10 March 2016. I was working a 0600 to 1200 hours shift at lane 50/51. At approximately 11:40 hours, I was working as a dynamic officer, DO, and responded to a call for male opt-out side door. The following narrative is of the incident that followed. I approached the side door and saw a Caucasian male, approximately 40 years old, 6 feet 2 inches tall, standing by the divesting belt. I asked him if he had any items in his pockets. To ensure he had fully divested and submitted everything for x-ray screening prior to me admitting him to the sterile area. He admitted to having a wallet that he refused to separate with due to it having his federal officer credentials, and he wanted to keep them on his person at all times. I explained that his wallet had to be submitted for screening, but he could take his credentials out and keep them in his hand if he wished. He refused, so I called for a lead. LTSO George was the lead for my lane and responded. George explained the same process I did, but he continued to refuse, so George left to notify STSO Bill. At this time, the passenger became frustrated that his property had gone through and he had, quotations, lost effective control of his items, end quotations. While George was talking to Bill, I managed to explain that I would screen his credentials individually if they were removed from the wallet and the passenger decided to take all items out of his wallet, IDs, credit cards, and cash, and then proceeded to submit his wallet to x-ray screening. Once I was sure he had divested all items, I escorted him through the side door and explained I would be taking his possessions from the x-ray belt to the side table where the pat-down would take place. He had 6 items and I was working alone, so I made 3 different trips back and forth. Once all items were on the table by the windows of lane 50/51, I had him stand on the footmat so he could see his property and began to give his advisements. I had not yet screened his wallet items, so I asked to see them and he refused until I had changed my gloves. I changed my gloves and then screened his items, noting a Common Access Card, CAC, from the Department of Defense, DoD, identifying him as a civilian contractor for the U.S. Navy. No other federal documents were present. I asked if I could place the items on the table behind me after I had done a visual and physical inspection, but he refused and requested he hold them throughout the process. I gave all the items back to him and began his standard pat-down advisements, using hand gestures in the air to demonstrate all hand movements required to clear the sensitive areas and inner thigh. During my advisements, he identified that he could only raise his right arm to 30 degrees, but had full capability otherwise. I acknowledged his abilities and I asked if he had any questions for me. Upon receiving the confirmation that he did not, I began. I started behind him on his collar and then proceeded down his left, followed by his right arm. I then proceeded to clear his back, waistband, buttocks, inner thigh, the back of both legs, and his ankles/heel. I came around the front and advised him to lower his arms, then cleared the front of his collar, chest, waistband, groin, front pockets, and right inner thigh. Upon clearing the left inner thigh, I went up to where his leg meets his torso, body resistance as required by SOP, and he jumped backwards off the mat. I do not remember the exact quotes he stated, but it brought the attention of my supervisor, TSO Bill, who had been working 3 feet away, over. Bill asked the passenger what happened, and the man requested police be brought so he could file sexual assault against me. Bill complied and requested MWA respond to lane 50/51. Upon hearing over the police request over the radio, 2 transportation security managers, TSMs, responded from their nearby offices. This sticker's covering this last sentence here.
Sorry, maybe
Can I?
Mr. Silvertooth can show you.
They arrived before MWA and asked the passenger what happened. He explained his side and continued to berate my actions. One of the TSMs requested I leave the area and wait elsewhere to separate the 2 of us, but the passenger said he wanted to keep me right there so that no sideline conversations could take place. The TSM had me step away around a nearby corner. MWA arrived around this time and started to question the passenger on his side of the story. They then came over to me and I explained that I had been completing a check of the inner thigh as required in the SOP. The police and TSMs went into the manager's office and reviewed video of the incident. Approximately 3 minutes later, they came back out and one TSM assured me I had done everything per SOP and had nothing to worry about. I was dismissed and clocked out at approximately 12:30 hours. End of statement.
Do you believe that this statement accurately reflects your recollection of that day?
I believe it did. As I recall, I wrote this within days after 10 March, so possibly written on 11 or 12 March.
It doesn't have a date when you wrote this on it, does it?
Not that I see.
Did you accidentally summon me?
Yes, it did.
Sorry.
In the earlier exhibit, the plaintiff's motion to determine spoliation of evidence and appropriate sanctions, on page 29, and that's okay, I'll refer to it, I'm referring to it in general, but your counsel can show it to you if you need to. I have this same statement copied in that document, along with the verification that was made accompanying it, which your attorney provided. The verification This is already in your documents, but does you want to find it, Mr. Silver, too? It's page 29, or I can certainly hand Mr. Polson a copy if you would like, whatever is easy.
He has the exhibit 1.
Page 29 then.
29, but just for the record, this verification came to you on a separate page, not attached to the same
Absolutely, agreed. But it was immediately following. It was on the subsequent page.
statement. Yeah, I'm just making the record clear.
So it was the verification referred to this statement.
Yes, that's
Is that correct, Mr. Polson?
I would agree.
Okay, making sure we're focusing on the right person here who's under deposition. So on page 29, you recognize the verification. Is that your signature?
It is my signature.
And what date is on there?
It is dated 11 September 2017.
On 11 September 2017, were you still employed by TSA?
Negative.
Whom were you employed by?
I'm currently employed by Secret Service, verifying the years, sorry.
So on 11 September 2017, the date of your signature on here, you were employed by the Secret Service, correct?
That is correct.
Could you read once again the first line of your statement on the other exhibit, not that one, the one to your right? That, yes, the two, exactly. Just the first sentence there, please.
I, Michael G. Polson, am a Transportation Security Officer, TSO, at Dulles International Airport, IAD.
Were you a TSO on 11 September 2017?
I was not.
Would that be a false statement?
It was not.
Is there any other date on this statement indicating a different date than 11 September 2017?
4.
There are no dates of when I wrote this posted on the statement.
How do you believe someone is to infer whether you are or are not currently a transportation security officer?
I am not a current TSO.
How is someone supposed to infer that from your statement here?
By the fact that I'm credentialed with the Secret Service as of my current dates.
What date is attached to your statement?
10 March 2016 is a date on the statement. That's the only date I see on the statement.
What date is attached to your signature that accompanies the statement?
I didn't sign this statement.
On page 29 is a copy that it was of the attestation verification that accompanied this statement as you provided in your disclosures. Do you agree that that is the attestation verification? It's titled verification, I'm calling it attestation, that accompanied this declaration of yours?
Form. For the record, this verification did not attach to his disclosure. You said disclosures. This attached to his interrogatory responses.
Thank you, Counsel. Did this verification snippet that I put in here, was that on the following page from the statement of you, Mr. Polson?
Form.
Not that I'm aware. It's on the same page.
It's on the same page in what I provided in this, but as Counsel and I discussed previously, this in what was provided by TSA, this was on the subsequent page. My point with this is simply you're stating 11 September 2017, and for the record, you're stating that you were a transportation security officer with the 11 September 2017 date. Do you deny that, Mr. Polson?
I
Form.
deny that I was not a TSO on 11 September 2017.
Do you deny that this is misleading, what you to have a verification statement on 11 September 2017 when the date is actually different?
Form.
The verification, to my understanding, states simply that this is something that I wrote and I'm verifying it under oath.
You stated before that you believe this statement that you made is accurate and complete. Is that correct?
I don't recall making that.
Do you believe that this do you believe that this statement that you wrote up is accurate and complete?
I would recall it to be accurate. Complete, no, it doesn't list every single thing that happened as far as I know. No statement can.
What do you believe is not included that would be relevant to make it complete?
I don't have all names or complete names. I don't have the weather outside. The entire situation cannot be taken from this to make a complete situation.
Do you believe that your statement that does not contain relevant, significant, or critical information to the incident?
I would agree.
Do you believe that the weather outside is critical information to the incident?
I do.
What was the weather outside?
I don't recall.
It was critical information, though, as they say, correct?
Form.
I would agree in my current training that the weather becomes an important factor for all statements.
How was the weather outside impacting the pat-down and alleged Fourth Amendment violation through use of excessive force?
Form.
Any pat-down can be affected by the weather simply by the fact that water has an effect on certain types of equipment.
Were we inside that day?
I recall us being inside that day.
Were there any leaks in the ceiling?
Not that I was aware of.
Was there any standing water hanging around?
I don't recall.
You don't recall?
I don't recall there being any standing water around.
If there were standing water, wouldn't that be a safety violation?
Form.
I would assume that that would be a safety violation.
And it would be your obligation to notify someone if there were standing water, correct?
Small measures, I would actually clean myself.
Okay, it's very conscientious. So you still believe that the weather is a significant impact on the alleged excessive use of force?
Form.
On the pat-down, I believe weather can become an effect.
How has weather affected pat-downs that you made previously as a TSO?
I'd like to take a break and talk with
Not until
my
after the
TSA
question
counsel.
is answered. Those were the rules before, Mr. Polson.
I believe the information that I would give is contrary to what I am allowed to, and would like to converse with TSA counsel present.
Sorry, Mr. Polson. You need to answer the question first.
Could you repeat the question, please?
How had weather affected pat-downs that you had made previously at TSO?
So I'll instruct the witness to answer to the extent that you are able without disclosing SSI.
Passengers that would have wet clothing can affect the pat-down results.
Okay, we'll follow on afterwards. That's the end of that question. Is there anything else you want to add in that answer?
No.
Okay, want to take a 5-minute break? Okay, 5 minutes, so we'll reconvene at 10 past the hour then, please.
That way I can fix
Going off
this.
record 11:02.